Great, thank you, Jay. Appreciate it, and glad to see some familiar faces on here, and excited to tell you all about what we've accomplished over the past year. A lot of changes and a lot of big things happening for us. So, from a very high level, if you can all remember, if you saw our presentation, I think it was probably 8, 9 months ago now. We were really trying to build what we considered to be an Uber-like system for hospitals and doctors. So a lot of temporary clinicians coming into the workforce wanting contract work. And Apollo at the time, our former name, we built the system to intake all these clinicians and then pair them up correctly with hospitals that needed shifts covered. So hospital would tell us what needed to be covered, and then our system would plug them in. A lot of new changes, and we've rebranded since then to OpenLoop, trying to set ourselves apart, be more distinct in what we're doing. There's a lot of Apollos in the medical space, not exactly what we're doing, but just a lot of Apollos in general. And so took on the name OpenLoop and then really rethought of ourselves as a fractional clinician marketplace, something where clinicians with part-time can come in, we syndicate those part-time availabilities, and then plug them into partner accounts that can utilize their time. So with that being said, a little background, we really wanted to tackle this problem because there is just a massive nationwide shortage of healthcare providers. And this particularly affects rural areas. The reasons for this are multifold, but really we're just not graduating enough of them to keep up with our growing population. The baby boomer generation is getting older and living longer. We have increased chronic care conditions, rapid population growth, and then our supply of clinicians is just remaining relatively steady. It's not that we're losing them, it's just we're not graduating enough of them. There's a lot of regulatory and compliance issues that are keeping this down, but the healthcare industry has been forced to innovate then to meet this new demand. We've built different things like telehealth. We've increased number of clinician positions. We've created HMOs, ACOs within the industry and coordinated care. But the problem is still that we don't have enough clinicians to utilize these tools. And so if you don't have these clinicians to utilize these tools, and the patient actually doesn't get the care. So for us, it became a question of how do we take this already existing pool of clinicians here in the US and now make them more efficient at delivering care. And so we do this through our open loop system, our fractional clinician marketplace, something that allows clients to instantly fill jobs and match the supply to the demand that we're seeing in the market. And so what does this actually look like? Clinicians enroll with us. We screen for top quality talent through our interviews, skills assessments, and reference checks, all done within our systems to make sure we're only enrolling the utmost talent. And then making sure we can place them directly with a hospital or telehealth client very, very quickly. Making sure all these background checks, primary source verifications, enrollment with the correct insurance companies are done all within our system so they can be placed immediately. And then lastly, we make sure that we integrate with our clients. So all the clinicians that enroll with us, we make sure they meet the schedule of our clients, they go through the training and onboarding systems through us, and they're a culture fit for the people that we're working with. A lot of these clinicians that we place are representing the hospitals or the telehealth companies that they're going to work for. And we want to make sure that they reflect the same values that the hospital they're going to work for. So OpenLoop is a place for these healthcare clients. So for us, it means hospitals, clinics, or telehealth companies to find and source quality providers. Something that provides upfront transparent details to the clinicians, facilitates one-time enrollment for our clinicians so they can begin the paperwork with us once and then be able to work anywhere at our partner accounts instead of having to repeat that process for each new account. And then again, like I said, matching that supply to the demand to save time and decrease costs. So the markets that we're going after, we have two adjacent markets. Our hospital and clinic markets have represented about a $34 billion TAM. And then now with the rapid acceleration adoption of telehealth over the past year, that now represents a $62 billion potential TAM for this kind of industry. So now where have we been and where are we going? Back in Q1, we actually, 2020, we launched our MVP. So our very first initial version, We began beta testing that here in Iowa with 4 partner hospitals and 80 physicians. Made quite a few matches during that time, so much so that when COVID hit in Q2, we actually attempted a nationwide launch. So we jumped straight out of our beta test, opened a freemium service to any hospital in the country because we wanted to be helpful and beneficial, and then wanted to continue stress testing the product post beta. And so with that time, we grew from 4 hospitals to 26 across 14 states. We went from 80 physicians to roughly 1,000 nationwide. And with this freemium model, we helped cover roughly 700 shifts during Q2. As COVID continued to drag on well past that 2-week timeline that we thought it would, hospitals sustained a massive revenue hit. And so they lost the funding necessary to support bringing in the clinicians that we were supplying them. And so this is where we came to fork in the road and decided to take a step back and make the decision on, do we just go heads down and build product during this time right now? Or do we reanalyze and readjust strategy? And so we looked and we saw that telehealth had increased roughly 8,000 to 10,000% in utilization. And a lot of these standalone telehealth companies were experiencing such massive increases in patient demand that they did not have the clinician resources there to support that demand. And so we really took the same model that we were giving our hospital and clinic partners and then applied to telehealth, saying, hey, we'll be your flex clinician partner, drop any openings into our system, and let our clinicians pick them up ad hoc. And since we made that in about mid Q3, we've seen pretty explosive growth. As it stands right now, we're servicing roughly 6,300 clinicians. Apologize, this number is slightly outdated on here. We have 98 hospital and clinic locations we're servicing, and we are servicing 11 telehealth clients right now, with 7 more in contracting. And so the beauty of what we're doing within the OpenLoop system right now is we've already demonstrated early success with physicians, nurse practitioners, and physician's assistants and nursing. And now within this telehealth domain, that really the same system can be utilized and expanded across other verticals like dentistry, therapy, chiropractic, podiatry. So those all represent potential adjacent markets for us in the upcoming years. For us right now, we've started, now that we're about 14 months into it, we've started to operationalize a lot of our departments. And so we've started to gather baseline metrics on our cost for customer acquisition. So $1.67 for clinicians, roughly $3,000 per hospital, and then about $500 for a telehealth client. And so payback periods are outlined on the bottom of the slide here. But for us, now that we have this data, it's really about ramping up our sales process and starting to rapidly scale. So taking all the stuff that we know that works and bringing that to scale. So here is our go-to-market strategy. This has changed within recent months. When we were honest with ourselves and took a step back and saw that where we were and where we're going, we realized that phase 1 for us was this past year, and that was really us being a staffing agency with extra technology to enable what we were doing. Phase 2 for us right now is very, very product heavy. We just hired on an additional 5 developers because we've seen that what we were doing in phase 1, a lot of those systems can be automated. And so we want to build internal clinician management tools for us. And when we entered this telehealth space, we saw a lot of telehealth clients, potential clients, that didn't need us for the supply side because they wanted to manage that internally, but were really interested in the technology tools we were building to manage our own internal clinician pools. And what I mean by these tools is I'm saying, like, if we have 16 partner accounts that are operating different medical specialties across multiple different states and integrated with multiple different insurance payers, and we have a pool of 6,300 clinicians that we're rotating between all these partner accounts for different scheduling and time blocks, we need comprehensive tools to see what account needs what sort of service and coverage compared to the other ones and so on. So that's really what phase 2 is focused on, and then licensing that to other potential clients within the telehealth domain. So that way in phase 3, all of these other clients who are utilizing us for our SaaS portion of the company will then be building up our supply side of our network for us, while we're also building up our own internal supply. That way in phase 3, I can flip the switch to have a truly self-sustaining marketplace, because our supply side has already been built out and the demand side is the only portion that we're missing. Some of our current clients are outlined along the bottom, just a mix of both hospitals and telehealth clients. Our team has grown pretty rapidly. That is also another change that we've had within the past few months. Up until about, I guess, the beginning of the year, we were a team of 6 people. Now we have 13 full-time team members, as well as a couple contractors. So primarily spread between product and tech, and then sales. Our team is, another key point is we're about 50% local and then 50% remote. We had to do what we had to do to grow during the pandemic, but from here on out, we decided that we like being in person. It's a lot more collaborative at this stage. And so looking to make about 10 additional hires before the end of the year. Some of our board members, advisors, investors, this has also grown. So we have the addition of Eric Passon, CEO of Anchor Health, and Kyle Wilcox, CFO of Unity Point. And so in summation, really, we are trying to be the dominant engine that powers the majority of patient visits in the country. So be that in person or virtually in the next 10 years. And by doing this, it'll really allow us to help close this care gap that we're noticing right now. So thank you, and I will open it up to any questions that anybody would have.
Hey, John, this is Dawn. I had not heard your presentation the first time, so this was super fascinating. I didn't know about the product and didn't realize it was out there, so thank you. One of the questions that I have about it is, where were these physicians when you were able to start recruiting them? So were they people that were already, working as a full-time physician and wanted extra hours, or they wanted out of the role that they were currently in, or maybe they were sitting on the bench and waiting for an opportunity where they could, take these gigs, quote unquote, as they wanted them? Like, tell me a little bit more about the clinicians and where they're coming from.
Yeah, that's a great question, Dawn. And it's been interesting to see the evolution. And so when we were primarily focused on hospitals, a lot of these physicians, what we consider the moonlighting ones, meaning they were already gainfully employed at hospital systems, but had an additional, on average, 10 hours per week they wanted to plug in somewhere else. And so the age ranges for those were really early in their career, so really recent graduates, as well as those in the very end of their career, so moving down to part-time and now want to supplement their income. Now that we've moved very heavily into this telehealth domain, that has the age has pretty much leveled out. And so that middle group, those into their 40s and 50s, are now starting to pick up, and we're seeing a pretty level playing field, as well as the type of clinician coming to us. So clinicians have decided that telehealth has a much better lifestyle balance. And so we're seeing an influx of people that are full-time employed, they get into telehealth, but now want to shift the majority of their work to telehealth. So they might start with us at 10 hours per week, but then a few months into, they're like, I really like this, and they want to move up to about 40 hours per week and leave their full-time position.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. Love the presentation, and this was the first time for me. And can you talk to me just a little bit more about your pivot? I really appreciated you kind of talking about what was happening in COVID, and just a little bit more on what went into which direction OpenLoop wanted to go once we got past the first 2 weeks of COVID.
Yeah, so great question, Matt. We knew we could service hospitals, but COVID just provided an initial boost in our services and the need for them. But then as it drug on, well into early Q3 from the beginning of March, the elective surgeries that they had, so their high dollar surgeries, their high dollar specialty clinics, all of those things were pretty much canceled and postponed.
Right.
And so they lost a lot of that revenue. They were only wanting to support their ICUs and keep everybody else out of the hospitals. So they had a need for very specific types of clinicians like ICU physicians, pulmonologists, ICU level nursing, but nothing else. And so we couldn't support them with the clinician pool that we had at the time. And they didn't want to bring in those clinicians anyway, because they didn't have the funding to support them either. And so for us, it became a question of, now do we just go heads down, build product during this time, wait for that hospital market to rebound, or are we early stage enough, need the revenue, that we pivot and go a different route? And so it was kind of a balancing act. We wavered for a little bit on it, but then when we thought about it, talked to other mentors, advisors, people in the industry, they saw that hospital rebound time being anywhere between 18 to 24 months, which is unfortunate. And a lot of that has to do with the fact of public perception. So people just not wanting to return back to the hospitals and wait for their surgeries and other things like that. So at that became a time frame that we couldn't stomach for being as early as we were.
Right.
And so we saw a very, very close tangential market being telehealth without a massive change in business operations, strategy, or vision of the company. And so that's the route we ended up taking. We ran a few tests, saw the potential and the ability to really just shift exactly what we're doing and go to telehealth companies. So in our minds, a telehealth company just represents a virtual hospital, if you will. So
right. Yep.
Wasn't much divergence there. And then once we started getting our first few clients, then we moved into it just very heavily thereafter.
Thanks. I appreciate you walking me through that. And just looking at who you have on the board and a few names that I recognize. So it looks like you have a lot of big brains and talent working in your favor. And one of the things that I was just curious too is, by chance, because of the rural focus, have you talked to the folks at Smart Scripts out of Iowa City?
No, we haven't.
I don't know if there's some synergy there on prescription and fulfillment, but some of the key things they were looking at too, similar problem space about care and availability, and basically how, the numbers don't really make it interesting for large like medical providers to service rural areas. So they were looking at it from the pharmacy side, but Roby Miller is on the board there. And then, but the folks at Smart Scripts might be somebody to talk to, as well as some partnering, especially as you're going at some of the adjacent things that you were looking at on the roadmap.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That'd be great.
Yeah. Again, great job with what you guys are doing and what you put together here.
Thank you.
So you've been through two different accelerators. You went through the Hawkeye Student Accelerator last summer and then Techstars in the fall. What were some of the biggest things you took away from going through those accelerator programs?
Both wildly different experiences, Jay. I see Katie's on here, and I think she is in charge of the Hawkeye Student one. I think, if I remember right, we were probably the most late stage company in the Hawkeye Student one.
Yes.
And at that time we had started hitting up a lot of growth and traction. And so unfortunately I didn't have the time to dedicate to the accelerator that I wanted for that one in particular. And so we were there for a lot of the big events, a lot of the big required meetings. And from that, the biggest value add was the mentor networks that we got paired with. A lot of long-time business executives, people with healthcare industry knowledge that were able to, give their expertise and mentorship to me throughout that time frame. So very grateful for that. I think when it came to Techstars, we dove full into 3 months, 10 hours a day for 7 days a week. Again, I'd say my co-founder and I took different things out of the program. For me, it was the network of mentors and advisors as well as investors. So we used that accelerator as a nidus to jump straight into our seed round right after. So for me, it was towards the end, it was a lot of fundraising. But on the revenue side of it, Techstars was really, in the mentors of that program, they were really the shove in the right direction for telehealth for us. And so they knew that we were struggling with this fork in the road, trying to decide which way to go. And they really pushed us down the telehealth way. That being said, they then were able to link us up with a lot of our initial clients. We were able to do some quick customer discovery within a week, get plugged into a few different accounts, sign them on contract, and start delivering services for them. So from that time frame, we jumped from 5,000 in MRR to finishing Techstars at 70,000 in MRR. So both a nidus for investment and a nidus for telehealth sales.
Very cool. Any other questions?
John, one more question for you. What has you most excited? Just as kind of as a founder and looking at what has you most excited for the next 6 months?
Oh, a lot has me excited, Matt. I was just thinking about this morning, actually. Up until January, we were running at this project with one developer, our CTO, and so we just hired an additional 5 people. We brought on a product person as well. And the stuff that they've come up with, the designs that they've come up with for website revamp, a lot of the tools that we have planned and a very clear vision of where we want to go, that's exciting for me and starting to see a lot of that come to fruition. And so as a team, we've been very siloed, if you will. So sales has been operating, staffing, our recruitment has been doing these matches kind of manually in part. And then tech has been building what we envision it should be. But now all 3 of these pieces are coming together and blending, which is really exciting. So our product will actually be able to be demoed for our people, because our product right now is just something we use internally, but it'll be something that our clients will be engaging with all the time. So being able to see the product side come to fruition, as well as the telehealth client pipeline that we have is robust. And a lot of those contracts will begin and be starting here in the next 6 months across multiple verticals within telehealth. So we've signed a couple of big clients for concierge medical services, we call them. It's like men's hair loss, prescription renewals, things that are just cash pay options. We've also signed healthcare tangential companies in telehealth. So we have a client that does subscription boxes for pregnant mothers. So monthly throughout the period of pregnancy, they send maternity clothes, et cetera, to mom. But now they want to spin up a telehealth line. We are now their entire clinician arm for them. They have about 130,000 monthly active users on board. And so the potential for us to see patients is very great there. And I think it's the very clear vision for me that we finally established upon. So a lot of soul searching in the past 8 months, but now being very focused and understanding what we have to do.
Right on. Thanks. I appreciate that.
So John, I'll contrast with Matt, the dreamer, and then the process lady will say, so what's your biggest challenge then over the next 6 months, or the biggest hurdle that you think you might run into in this process?
Yeah. So for us right now, it's payers. And by payers, I mean insurance companies. And so a lot of the telehealth clients that we're working with, we are really their entire clinician infrastructure, meaning that we do the clinician management, the scheduling, we supply the clinicians, but we also do the licensing and the payer enrollment. So each time a clinician wants to be able to bill insurance for a telehealth client, they have to be enrolled with every single payer that client wants to bill. And so for us, we're doing this individually with each clinician right now. We would like to be able to secure payer contracts as a group. So our OpenLoop healthcare group is an actual medical practice. And so we can theoretically get these group contracts, but we need to get every single one in the country. So we're targeting the 5 national ones right now: United, Cigna, Humana, Aetna, and then I guess Blues are regional players, like Blue Cross is our regional, but we're trying to get group contracts for those to start. And so if there's anybody who has any sort of connections within any of these major insurance companies, we'd love the introduction, because that's our biggest bottleneck right now. To individually enroll somebody takes about 120 days. And if we can get a group contract, we're able to place them on and off those contracts immediately. So that's probably our biggest bottleneck.
Gotcha. Yeah, that sounds that sounds intense. So,
John, thank you so much. This has been a fantastic, presentation today, and we really appreciate it. Where would we find the positions that you're hiring for? Are those listed somewhere?
Yeah, those would be on our website, openloophealth.com.
Okay, perfect. And as I am with ICAD, and we would be happy to help you with any of the intros. Matt had mentioned Smart Scripts. We could definitely help get you some introductions there. And then press releases, send us any of your information that we've got. I think we've shared quite a bit, but we're happy to share anything and everything that you guys have coming out. It's been great.
Thank you. We just finalized our seed round about a week ago. And so we're trying to push that on the 14th of January. So I'll be in touch, Aaron. Thank you.
That sounds perfect.
Any other questions?
Hey, John, this is Steve Baker. I'm with Procedural Tech. I saw you present. In fact, I judged a competition you did at the university quite some time ago. I believe you won it. I've got a workflow optimization for radiology product, and we're developing a clinical decision support product. Teleradiology has been around for quite some time, and now it's called telehealth. I'd love to have a discussion with you offline on some possible synergies, and maybe you can even give me some assistance on or information on the linking of the telehealth.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Steve.
So I have your email. I'll reach out. Great. You guys have come a long way. It's congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Good job.
Yeah, it is amazing to see. Just really, it was just a year ago that we got to hear from you for the first time, and just seeing how far you've gone going through the programs and getting those connections and the pivot toward telehealth is fantastic. I know you kind of mentioned what your plans are for the next few months and that sort of thing. Is there any specific thing in there that is it's like job number one? We've got to get this thing done in the next 6 months.
Payer contracts.
Cool.
That's my number one priority right now.
Nice.
So fundraising was, and now it's this.
Very cool. Nice, and definitely congratulations on the seed round. I know that's always a big step. It's not easy to get funding from people sometimes. So congratulations on that. Are there any other questions from our group?
Sorry, John, another question from Matt. I just my eyes keep getting drawn to Coach, the CEO, COO product. What is your need there? How might we help there?
So when I look back a year ago, it was myself and Christian, one of my co-founders. We were sitting in Hy-Vee writing letters to physicians to get them enrolled, and now we can do this digitally. And now we're a team of 15, but our roles were very much multifaceted at the beginning a year ago, and now they're getting a lot more defined. And I don't fully understand what it's like to be in this role. Neither does Christian or our product person. We're all young and relatively inexperienced. And so in order to make sure that we're doing the most for our team members as well as our stakeholders, we'd like to find people who have been there, done that, for lack of better terms. And so looking for coaches for ourselves to teach us, exactly how we should be doing what we're doing.
Right on. Maybe you and I can follow up later, but on the product side, the space that I play in and have for a long time has been basically the overlap of human-centered design, innovation, and brand strategy. And so basically how to get to human need and have clear kind of accurate targets. And then how do you align around those, right? Because customers don't buy org charts, they buy value. And so how do you make sure what's valuable for the customer, and then how can your teams deliver? So if there's anything that you want to chat about on that front, we could connect later.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yep.
else before I ask the traditional final question? Going once, going twice. I guess I mean, we've got the slide up here, so it sort of answers the traditional final question, but I always like ending with, what can we as the community do to help you?
Yeah, I mean, I knew the question was coming. I preemptively hopped on it here. I answered most of them. So, amplifying our voice, coaches, we're very interested in that right now. Intros, I guess, as soon as one round closes, the next one technically opens. So always looking connections to other VC groups, people that are operating in the same space we are. Intros to potential clients. Anybody plugged in with any other telehealth companies that we could service or just even listen to, hear what the problems and needs are. Always welcoming those. The paracontracting side, and then we are on a hiring tangent that we need to fill very quickly. So all these ones listed on the top are immediate needs, and then our chief growth officer is more of like a Q4 type hire, but somebody who's like scaled the company from 2 million ARR to 10 million ARR. So somebody who's been there, done that, ideally still wants some skin in the game, likes the risk and early stage startup field, but that's a hire that we want to start thinking about now in anticipation for Q4, and are going to be very strategic and slow with that hire to make sure we find the right person. But any connections to any of these positions would be greatly appreciated.
You'd mentioned you're looking to get everyone kind of back together in the office. Are you doing any distance hiring right now, or is it all just in Des Moines?
No, so for the right person, the right talent, that is still an option on the table.
Nice. So, awesome.
Oh, and then last thing, if you guys or hear of any companies that are relocating to Des Moines or in Des Moines looking for office space, we have about 10,000 square feet on this floor that I'm at right now, and we work with 3 other startups in the space. We like the post accelerator feel, so we share resources, we share personnel, looking for other teams to join us in the space as well. So any small size, anywhere between 2 to 10 people, we're always happy to have.
Very nice, very cool. Thank you so much for joining us again. It's been amazing to hear how far you've come in the last year, and just definitely keep building and keep us informed of any help we can give you, or any milestones you hit, or that sort of thing. So thank you so much.